Hey, what is up everybody? It's ZXRyuu. We're going to continue our Let's Play of Mega Man Legends 1 today. So we're going to do a couple of things before we continue on with the story. I was kind of refreshing myself on what needed to happen next and what is still to be done in the game for this run-through. So I just decided we probably should capture a couple of things before continuing on. So one of those things is we're going to go to... we're going to go to the east side of town, to the old city, because they talk about the main gate a little bit. I remembered after I stopped the recording last time that Professor Barrel mentioned something about the main gate and whether or not we had heard about it. And I remembered, oh yeah, we didn't ever go to the east side to look at the to talk to those people in there. So we're gonna take a little detour, go do that, and then we'll go to the next major dungeon. Okay, so let's see here now. So there's some dogs in the old city that'll chase you around, so it's kind of hard to talk to some of the guys. So you have to kind of do it quickly. So anyway, you can kick the dogs to make them stop following you, but we're going to try and avoid that happening. Yeah, so but they're everywhere in here, so but you can just kind of jump around them and avoid them or whatever. So the south gate leads to let's see if we can get far enough away to kind of deter them. Bring them over here so we can actually talk to the other guy. Ah. Yeah, so it's really hard to talk to people because the dogs will just like constantly attack you. So they don't do a lot of damage, but they do, you know, they do some. So okay, so here's the power plant. No. Indeed. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of these guys just say, you know, like, why are you over here? If you want to see the main gate, go over here, and that's pretty much what they're here to tell you. There's not a whole lot of interest that they say. It's mainly just go look at the main gate if that's what you came here for. Uh-oh. Okay, thanks. Thanks, dog, for canceling that menu for me. Some of the buildings you can get on top of, like this one, but can't really do a whole lot else besides that. Let's see if I can talk to this guy really quick. Yeah, it's really annoying if you're trying to do the text boxes without kicking the dogs. Meow meow. Looks like Koa. Yeah, so anyway, this is what the main gate looks like. Although it's locked, so we can't really do anything with it right now. Meow. Meow meow. So yeah, you can rescue cats in this game. I guess the director or the developer or whatever likes cats better than dogs, I guess. I don't get it, but So this guy has a resettable text box, so you can answer no and yes. Yeah. So there's not a whole lot else we can do. I'm not even sure we can call roll at this. Whoops, at this point. Okay, I guess we can. Okay, so we're going to take the support car back to the Cardon Forest. So now we have the old city as well as the main gate in the list of places that we can go now. And so since we picked up the cat earlier, when we go back into the flutter, it'll kind of jump out of our pocket or something. I don't know. And yep, there you go. So anyway, now we have a cat. Okay, so let's go ahead and adjust our buster parts. Should be good. So, and again, since we have the music box, then we've won that. Now we have that different music in her room. Okay, we're going to go ahead and save again, and then we'll go into the ruin, so we don't have to do this again if something goes wrong, which has happened. But yeah, we're getting closer to the end of the game here, so we're going to go to the research and development room, and we're going to change our special weapon, because we're going to need the Grand Grenade for this mission coming up. I think it would have been faster to go the other way, but whatever. And we don't need to do any enhancing or any upgrades or anything yet, so. Because we just don't need to do it to this weapon because we're not going to use it for very long. Okay, so we're going to go to the Closer Woods subgate.
Up and away!
So, and this is this ruin in particular starts developing the more serious aspects of the story about why things are going on the way that they are. So this lays a lot of that groundwork. So, so this dungeon is particularly important for the story. But we just exit the flutter the same way that we would normally to go to the ruin.
I've never seen a site like this before. There's a big pit in the middle, and I can't get any readings from inside. I wonder what could be in there.
Well, only one way to find out.
Mega Man? Are you okay? Can you see a door somewhere?
I see two doors, but the most important one that we need to go to is this one.
I can't get any readings of that room, Mega Man. My monitor's completely blank. Take a look around and let me know what you see.
That was weird. Not mean to do that.
It's my guess the power's out in that room. Can you see a switch anywhere?
I don't see any switches, but there's some writing here. Let's see. It says Operations Room 2. Emergency system activation requires direct password input from Eden or the insertion of 3 level 2 or higher prototype anthro unit ID cards.
What's a prototype anthro unit? I've never heard of that before. Well, whatever that is, you need 3 ID cards, right? If we're lucky, you'll be able to find them inside there.
Okay, so that's the mission for this dungeon primarily, is we're looking for the ID cards. But there's some more kind of going on with that whole conversation there that we'll get into a little bit later on as we get through the dungeon. But there's something kind of interesting about the way he was talking there. Okay. So we're going to, for the most part, avoid these guys right at first, because we're going to come over here. Get this guy. Okay, so there's kind of a glitch with this wall. I don't really know what the heck is wrong with it, but anyway, if you can capture all the enemies right here, and you can just kind of shoot through the wall. And then just pick up the Zenny. So I don't know why the door is kind of glitched out that way, but you can trap all the enemies there and then just pick up the money afterwards. So and again, we're checking for holes in the walls and everything, so that's why we're doing all of the map. And this ruin in particular is, it's kind of a strange ruin the way that it's laid out and just kind of what you have to do in here. You don't get a whole lot of Zenny either. You'll get like big amounts, but it won't be huge numbers of shards. And the reason for that is you're kind of locked into using a special weapon in this dungeon, unfortunately, because there's kind of a section that we'll get to here in a little bit where it requires a special weapon to open. So they put a bunch of enemies in here that doesn't require a bunch of, you know, special weapon energy or anything. But unfortunately, we can't use the vacuum arm as a result of that, because we're locked into having to use a special weapon. So, and there's multiple ways to get into this main room here, but we kind of come this way so that we can get this item. So, and the guidance unit is used to make, I think, what's considered the strongest special weapon in the game, called the Active Buster. So, we'll make that a little bit later on. But we want to, instead of jumping down in that other room, we want to go this way. Just making sure we got everything. What's nice is in Mega Man Legends 2, there's kind of like an indent in the wall, so if there is a hole in the wall, you can kind of see it from the back side of the level geometry, which makes it a little bit easier to see if there is stuff there. Because right in this game, it's just like a texture on the wall that you have to look for. So, and again, I'm going to kind of avoid a lot of the enemies here and just pick up yeah, it's really weird what collide stuff works and what doesn't. Like the collide damage you'll get in the middle of a text box from the dogs, but from these guys you won't. So it's kind of weird what happens to clear out, you know, what counts as collide damage and what doesn't. That was kind of a miraculous shot. Wow. So, and I think the music or the atmospheric sounds for this dungeon in particular, I think fit really well, because this is kind of like becoming a more ominous, we're trying to figure out, why are the Reaver bots activating, what's really going on with this town, and there's just a bunch of stuff that you start kind of figuring out as we're getting closer to the end of the game. So I think the really dark and creepy music in this dungeon fits really well. Kind of knock these guys off of here, and then you can walk around to the backside of them and shoot them. They're vulnerable from the backside, but they you know, obviously try and stay with their shield pointed toward you as much as possible. Okay, so the antique bell is an item for the museum. Okay, looks like I didn't know if I got this one or not. Okay, so we can use these platforms to get up. Oops, we can use these platforms to get up top. In this episode, ZXRyuu can't jump properly. Yeah, but if you shoot them from the backside, they take a lot less shots to kill. If you shoot them from the front, they're armored, but if you shoot them from the back, they don't take as many shots.
Did you find something, Mega Man?
I think I found an ID card.
Good going.
I'll go back to that control room once I found the others.
Okay, so there's kind of a couple ways we can go. The game kind of intends for you to go this way because the series of text boxes, if you... Oh my gosh. That guy freaks me out every single time because I forget that he falls from the ceiling. Sheesh. Everybody saw that jump, right? So anyway, what I was saying is there's kind of like a you know, the game kind of intends for you to go this way first, because the way the text boxes are laid out, they explain some stuff or just say some stuff, and it doesn't make sense if you do it out of order. I mean, you can kind of infer what's going on, but not really.
Mega Man, I'm seeing something funny on my monitor. It looks like there's a false wall or something. There's probably a secret room in there.
So anyway, the map kind of gives you this little like pink gridded icon, and that just shows you that there's something there, but it's actually on the ceiling. So that's why we use the grand grenade to break it open, because it's one of the few weapons that'll do it. The powered buster will do it, but I don't remember specifically what weapons will break that because I haven't checked it, but I know the grand grenade does for sure. And it's kind of the weapon you get right before this dungeon anyway, so it's almost like they intend for you to use it throughout here. And it does make sense when for the boss later on as well, because of something you can do with that. So
looks like the power's off there too. Maybe you'll be able to find the generator somewhere in there.
So yeah, so she refers to a generator, but what's weird is if you find the generator first and then she kind of just says, oh, well, now you can access the elevator now. And she's talking about that elevator specifically, but you can kind of infer that it just means that all the elevators are working, which is also technically true. So it's kind of a weird setup that they have here, but they really intend for you to go that way first, which is why I did go that way, so you could see that. But you can go you know, if you find the generator, you can activate it, and it's not a big deal. It doesn't mess up anything or whatever. In Mega Man Legends 2, these armored guys are a little bit easier to get behind and shoot consistently. In Legends 1, you have to kind of work around the bad hitboxes. So. If you stand far enough away from them, though, they won't shield as often. So, but if they start shielding, then you can just run up and, you know, shoot them. So, and there's also a room that resets all of the enemies because you're going back into just a normal subgate. And so that's this door. So when we come back, all the enemies will be reset, unfortunately, but that's okay. There's not that many of them, and they don't hurt that much, so, you know. So this is yet another section of this drilling area. We're on the back side of this wall now. So when we end up getting a way to drill through the walls, we can come. It's kind of the last run through of all the areas. They kind of just intend for you to take the drilling tool and come back through the entire ruin like that, unlock everything that you didn't before, and just kind of finish up going through here. Because the zenny you get isn't that much, so unless you specifically want to go to the areas that require drilling, which can take some time, they just kind of, I think, intend for you to... that was kind of stupid, I don't know why I did that. They just kind of intend for you to go back through the entire set of sub-gates after you get that. Okay, so this is the operations room 2. So this is the room that they were talking about earlier that we needed to find. It's a second ID card. So we use the jet skates to kind of clear this room out quickly because it's big. Okay, so we can talk to the panel right here.
That looks like the generator you've been looking for. Can you get it to work?
Activate, don't activate.
Oh, right! You should be able to get the elevator to work now.
Yeah, so she's talking about that one elevator specifically in that previous room, but you could infer, I guess, that she means that all of the elevators are active now, because technically that's true. Because, you know, she's saying the power's out, and so since you activated the generator, that turns everything back on, so. And since we've reset the enemies, there's going to be one, like, right in front of us. Okay, so now we need to go back through here so we can get to the elevator room. And the enemy's going to drop in front again. You can kind of get these enemies grouped together, which is nice, because then you don't have to go, you know, running around the room to get rid of them. But you can also trap them on this part of the level geometry up here. And if you stay far enough away from them, they'll just kind of hang out and not really do anything. So I don't like these spider enemies. They're annoying. Yeah, so if you stay kind of back here, they'll just sit themselves in the corner and not really do a whole lot.
Mega Man, I'm seeing something funny on my monitor.
And she says this again for some reason because
It looks like there's a false wall or something.
Because the wall got reset also too from us going through the going through the dungeon, the subgate, so it resets that also. So for whatever reason it resets the text box as well.
Hey, Mega Man, have you ever wondered where the Reaver bots came from? I mean, who made them and why? You know, we go around doing digs all over the place, but is it right? It's almost like stealing. Mega Man, I'm picking up 3 Reaver bots close by. Watch out!
So you're kind of intended to go around this room and fight all of these things, but if you stand on top of this platform, if you stand on top of this button, they can't hurt you. And you can also trap all 3 of them in here and, you know, hit them with the grand grenade. Oh, wow. That's bad. Okay, there we go. I don't know why I got hit right there. That was weird. I guess I must have extended my hitbox in a weird way to get hit, because normally that doesn't happen. That's bad. Yeah, but if you cluster, this is when it goes bad. But if you can cluster all of them and you know, pick up all the Zenny from them.
I'm not picking up any more Reaverbot signals. I think it's safe.
Yeah, so that didn't go very well. But anyway, you're intended to kind of go around this room and fight them, and then just pick up the Zenny. But if you get all of those dog things kind of clustered in the elevator, you can just hit them with the Grand Grenade and get rid of them all about the same time, and then just pick up the Zenny and go. And unfortunately, since they hit me, they permanently broke my shield, so I'll just take extra damage if I get hit. But that's kind of one of the downfalls to that enemy that makes them really dangerous, is they can just permanently break your shield by hitting you with the fire. So here's the last ID card. So we don't have to go back the same way that we came. We can do that, but instead it's just quicker to jump down here and go back around this way. So, and then we can go back over to this door over here and just get out pretty quickly. So you can kind of lure the enemies over here as well. Yeah, but these guys, if your shield's broken, will really, really hurt you, so just makes more sense to kind of avoid it. So anyway, so now we don't have to mess around with going up and down elevators. We can just kind of bypass all of that and save a little time. Emergency system activated.
This is it. Once I'm inside the main gate, we should be able to figure out why the Reaver bot's activating like that. But how come I can read these ancient letters?
So that's why he was struggling to read the text box at the beginning, because it's kind of unknown to you at that point, but he's reading some ancient language and having trouble figuring out what it means. And so he's just kind of making his best guess, but that's why he stutters through that text box. So anyway, that unlocks the main gate, and that's where we've been trying to get to for, you know, or we just start learning that, okay, we need to get into the main gate in order to figure out what's going on here, so. out of here now. Okay. So, and apparently the cat that we picked up had another cat, so there's that. Interesting. That newspaper, you have to read it a couple times because there's some submissions that you can do later on, and one of them is required by the newspaper first to trigger the event flag. So, okay, so we're gonna talk to Roll and get some stuff created here, and then we'll go back to the Cardon Forest. Okay, so we need to do some item developing. Yeah, so the sniper scope just increases. It's a buster part and it increases your range as far as you can go, as far as it can go. It just maxes it out. And then the active buster is, you know, what she says to be considered the best weapon in the game. So, and that's probably true because of the amount that you can update it. So that's this thing. So we're gonna go ahead and do a few enhancements to it because we're gonna have to use it here in a minute or two to fight another boss battle. And unfortunately, this thing is really expensive. So for right now, we're just gonna do the we're gonna do most of the just kind of like single or double-digit upgrades, and then we're just gonna increase the range by 1. But yeah, it's really expensive to upgrade. So we need to save a lot of that money for some equipment that we need to buy after we're done here. So. Let's see here, I need to make sure I changed it. I think I did. Yes. Okay, so now we can save and then go back to the Cardon Forest. Then after that, there's a couple of other side quest things that we can do.
Okay, Mega Man, hold on. Lift off!
Yeah, so this is the ruin though that the Moral Wolf was digging around. So if we were to come here, like, you know, really early on in the game, it wouldn't really make much sense to us. So.
It's the bonds.
Now that he's opened the main gate for us, we don't need to keep him around any longer. Time to blow him and that ship of his to Kingdom Come! All port cannons, prepare to fire! Fire!
We don't stand a chance out here. We'll have to try and hide in the clouds.
Cease fire! They're trying to lose us in the clouds. After them! Little ship's faster than she looks. Launch the Drox! Don't let him get away! Let's see you escape this time.
I'm picking up a large number of little ships closing in on us. Mega Man, can you take them out?
No problem, Roll.
Yeah, so this fight is actually pretty difficult. So if I die, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's kind of tough to defeat this, you know, run off. So especially on normal. So I mean, on easy this is not that hard, but on normal this is pretty difficult. That's one down. There's 3. 4. There we go. Okay, that wasn't terrible. Because we need to save a lot of our special weapon energy for the actual Gizzle shaft, so. So there's several components on this thing we have to destroy. We have to destroy their wings and the underside, and Roll will tell us that here in a minute.
Right on top of us.
I'm on it, Mega Man. Here we go!
Impossible! They shot down all the Drox! But they bought us enough time to catch up with Blue Boy there! Huh? Where'd they go? They're gone!
Diesel, they're underneath us. They're right below the Gessel shaft.
Underneath? They couldn't have! They must have discovered our weak spot! Battle stations! It looks like they're serious. They want to go out fighting, just like cornered rats! On your toes, everyone!
Roger. Rats? Okay, Mega Man, now it's our turn. Take out their weak points one by one. Diesel! There's a fire in Block 2! I'm sealing it off!
What? Gunners! What do you think you're doing?
Ah, too far away.
Knock them out of the sky!
So they're on a rotation, so you have to kind of survive.
On their sides and the engines on their wings. The armor should be thinner there.
That's it! Keep it up! Don't give them any breathing room!
That's it, Mega Man. It's working. Keep it up.
Another hit? What kind of firepower are they packing on that little ship?
Me!
What? They're still flying? There must be someplace we haven't hit yet. Where could it be? Mega Man? Aim...
Mission complete!
Yeah, she says Mega Man, aim for that skull marking. But unfortunately, there's more. And this next section is really, really
If we're
annoying.
not careful, we'll be caught in the explosion. We've got to get out of here.
Right.
You didn't think you'd be able to take care of us that easily, did you? But they still managed to get me. I can't move my arm. It's up to you, Tron. Get him!
Leave it to me, Teasel. He's gone too far this time. No more playing around.
So there's kind of a pattern where you can just unload into this thing, but it takes a little while to set up, so...
I'll show them.
So in the meantime, you have to track these missiles, because they do a lot. And they can hit you too, so they're not just aiming for the ship, they're aiming pretty much for you. Okay, here we go. If I can see it, there it is. Yeah, that's pretty much the best time to unload at it, and that's why you need to save your energy. Okay, so that went really well, actually.
I'm sorry, Teasel. I lost.
Don't worry your pretty little head over it, Tron. We tried our best, but sometimes your best isn't good enough. We lost fair and square. That's life.
They did eject, didn't they?
I don't think so.
Maybe. Maybe we should have taken it easier on them.
Maybe.
Yeah, because there's still people too. Okay. Now I'm trying to remember. There is some like kind of like janky thing that happens here. So just be prepared for that.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
Whoops.
Get out of here now. Next time, knock before opening the door.
Sorry, Roll.
So that whole sequence there is, you know, she's like changing or something after this mission. So the first time you run through the game, that's probably just gonna happen if you haven't seen any kind of walkthrough or anything, because you know your obvious thought is after you beat a boss or whatever, it's like, okay, well, go ahead and save. And so the only way to kind of bypass that, I guess, is to exit the ship and come back in. I think that skips the sequence, but I don't remember. I mean, at least it's like, you know, you don't see anything, but it's just all inferred that what's going on there. So it's kind of the weird thing about this game series is that happens in this game, and then that also happens in Mega Man Legends 2. Spoilers, haha, no. It's not really a spoiler, just that just happens. So okay. In Mega Man Legends 2 also, you can read her diary, which I think is kind of funny. And she makes mention of that instance in particular that just happened, so. Okay, I thought you could trigger the event at that point, but I guess not. Okay, so we're gonna go do a couple of things now. We're gonna go check in with. Whoops. We're gonna go check in with the kids. Yeah, now there's like a ton of cats. Like the cats are multiplying. So I was thinking we needed to go somewhere else first, but we don't. We're gonna go this way and check in with the kids now and see how the fort is coming along. And then we're going to go talk to the mayor right after. So another thing too about those like sequences of like walking in on roll or whatever. Oops, I did it again. I went the wrong way. The thing about that sequence with those kids, or with roll, is that that's not mentioned in part of the ESRB rating. So it's just something to be aware of, that, you know, the game is overall rated E, but they throw stuff like that in there. So that's kind of the one bad part, I think, to this game, is that that's, you know, that's in there, because I really liked how this game works and all of that stuff. That's just kind of the weird thing, but I think you can bypass it if you leave the ship and then come back in. Huh, interesting. Good for you, dude. Oh, weird. Everybody says the main gate, but they're wondering why there's a bunch of sounds opening, like a door's opening. I don't know, it's weird. So now there's this kid running around. Hey, come here, kid. Out of my way, out of my way! Okay, so that does, so anyway, that talking to that guy actually triggers a sequence that we can go do now. So we need to go find that guy's wife. Which I believe she's this way. Yeah, here she is. That's why I kept checking the corner, because I was trying to think of when this actually happened. See if she gets better. Take her to the hospital. Shoutouts to Toto's Anna also. Okay, so this now opens up another section with this girl.
Are you from another island? I wish I could go places too. But just you wait and see. Once my leg gets better, I'm gonna go all over. The nurse tells me that if I keep working hard with the rehabilitation, my leg will get better in no time. Why don't you come over to my room sometime and tell me stories about where you've been? It's so boring just staying in my room by myself all day.
That was weird. Hung up on the guy. He's still saying the same thing. Still hasn't been looked at. Okay. So that triggers that. Let's see here. Oh, okay, they both say the same thing. Okay, anyway, so we can check back on her here in a minute, but... Okay, so Ira needs better medical equipment, and in order to get that medical equipment approved, we need to go talk to the mayor. So, but first we're going to drop off. This is like the weird section of the game where you have a bunch of stuff that you need to do around the entire island. So we're going to go here and drop off some more stuff that we found in the ruins to the curator.
That's a catalog spell. They're found only on this island. No one knows what they're used for. Is it okay if I put this on display?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I bet there are a lot of people who'll come to see this.
I'm not remembering if that's the only thing or if there's another thing. That's another thing, I guess.
That's quite a find you've got there. It's called a giant horn. Maybe you've seen some rich people on TV with these on display in their houses? They're worth a lot. Would you let me put it on display here, please? Thank you so much. I bet there are a lot of people who'll come to see this. You're...
Okay. So now we have those two things, so we can go down and come back up, and then I think there's some more people that show up after that, so we still have the same people here. I guess not. Okay, so anyway, here's the giant horn. And then the antique bell. So let's see here. I think there's I think there's two more items to find here. So, so we're getting close to being done with that. Let's see here. We did all the mini games. Okay, I think we're good to go talk to the mayor. Whoa! Hi there, police car. How you doing? Whoops! Almost got run over. That would have been bad to get run over by a police officer. Okay. So we need to go talk to the mayor for the equipment, and then we can go back to the hospital, give the let the attendant know that the mayor's approved it, and then go check on the wife and see how she's doing, and then we can go check on the kids. So we'll just run through all the conversations here. So, I mean, you can kind of come back here and talk to her also. She'll give you some hints as to, you know, what's going on around the island. So, I didn't come back here very often. I probably should have, but she does give you some good information throughout the game if you want to get information from her. Yeah, so it's pretty pricey. Wow, that's a lot of money. Okay, yeah, so anyway, you just say nothing. I'm here to see you after that. Okay, so now that the equipment's been purchased, that's another reason why you need so much money out of this previous ruin, is so that you can buy that equipment. Interesting. Getting a little chummy there. Wow. Huh? I want to play in the fountain too? What on earth? Yeah. Actually, since we're here, let's go by the police station. I'm not sure if we can do this section yet, but let's see. Because I think you may have to do something with the main gate first. Oh dear. Huh, guess you can't talk to him. Okay, let's talk to the inspector. Okay, so, alright, so we need to go to the main gate and kind of clear everything out there first before we can do anything else. So that's really like an end game type of thing that you do. So, guess we'll come back for that later. In the meantime, go back to the hospital. You know, if I was a person driving in that car, that'd be really disconcerting. But they don't stop, they don't bat an eye, they don't do nothing. They just keep it going. So now after we talk to the kids, we'll stop for this video before we go explore the main gate, because there's a lot to do in there after. I am looking for the hospital. There we go. So there's a lot to do near the main gate and around it. So we'll just we'll come back a little bit later with that. Oh, hey, dude. Okay, I'm trying to remember how. Maybe the dude's just out here. Yeah, there he is. Sunlight. So that's another. I'm trying to remember if that's a Buster part tool or.
Hey, Mega Man! Look, I can walk again. The nurse told me that you bought them a machine that fixed my leg. Thank you. Here, this is for you.
Aw.
I found it when I was out for a walk. Come back and see me again.
So she wants you to come by and tell her stories, but the game doesn't really allow for that, I guess, and also just with the sequences and everything. So, you know, it's kind of just like inferred that you go and talk to her, and then you buy the equipment for her. She gets better, and then there's not really anything else to do, unfortunately, with talking to her. So she just, every time you talk to her, she just says, "Come back and see me again." So, yeah, so that's pretty much it. So we need to go to the ruins back behind. What am I doing? Yes, I'm going the right way. Sheesh. Yeah, we need to go to the ruins back behind the back behind City Hall. Not really the ruins, but we need to go check on the kids, and they're behind City Hall, so. I don't know if this guy says anything different. No, activate any Reaver bots. Okay, so now the kids are done building, so it looks pretty swagalicious now. Yeah, okay. Wolf shell. So there's a couple of items now that get triggered. There is, I believe there's some type of bug, 2 bugs, something like that we need to go grab. I think they're just on the ground somewhere. Yeah, but I think there's a couple of bugs on the ground or something like that, and then there's a magazine too that they want. So I think it's pretty obvious. I'm just trying to remember where it is. I think it's over here. It's either over here or it's... Oh, there it is. The stag beetle. And I want to say there's another one... I want to say there's another one over by where the flutter is as well. But I think we can go ahead and give this to them to start that sequence. Because I think they mentioned where something might be. Or maybe they're just out here now. I can't remember. I know the other thing is over here. Yes. Yeah, so it's an action book comic. It's kind of weird that Mega Man does that kind of thing. They also cut that out of that other section where roles changing or whatever, where he does that too in the Japanese version, but they took that out. And also that comic book is like basically like a sketchy manga book in the Japanese version also. So they changed that, you know, to make it more kid friendly for, you know, in the American version. So yeah, I guess the thing really is over there. So I guess let's go see if we can find it, and then we'll just bring everything back at once. And the Marlwolf shell is another item that we use to develop some stuff, so. Yeah, so there was some minor changes from the Japanese to the English version, just to make it a little bit more just kid friendly. And also too, in Japan, the like we have the ESRB here. They have the something called Zero, So it's CERO, and the other one is just ESRB. And they didn't kind of introduce the rating systems in the US and in Japan until kind of all that stuff happened in the 90s with violence in video games and just parents' involvements and what kids are playing and, you know, this kind of thing. So they instituted that stuff later, and so a lot of these games, you know, up until like the middle or late 90s are actually unrated, basically. Except in the U.S. The U.S. had a rating system a lot sooner than Japan did. But this game probably would just be considered A in Japan, which is like pretty much all ages, because the next rating is B, and it's got to have like, you know, a little bit more excessive amounts of stuff in order for it to get rated a B. But it just usually, there it is. But a B rating is for ages 12 and up. So, I mean, you've seen on our channel that we'll play some games like Persona 4 Arena as a B. You know, so anyway, these rating systems were just instituted to help parents keep better tabs on what their kids are playing and, you know, what's appropriate for their kids and everything. Everything just was unrated there for a while, and you know, anybody could just buy any game or whatever, and there was just some people that were upset about that. So that's when all that stuff was instituted. So the reason why some of this stuff is in here and, you know, still in the US version or whatever was because it was unrated in Japan and then basically rated E over here because it was going to be the equivalent of A in Japan anyway. So, and it's like, you know, this game's really mild overall compared to a lot of other stuff. So, I mean, what are you going to rate it? So, I mean, lately, or, you know, recently they came out with the E10 Plus within the last, I guess, 10 years now at this point. Yeah, so I mean, this game, if it was re-rated now, it was rated K to A, I think, when it first came out. I don't think it was rated E. I think it was re-rated E when the Greatest Hits version was released because we had the kids to adults kind of thing for a while. It was like K, A, T, and M were like the only ratings we had, and then they added E, then E10 Plus, you know. So probably this game would be rated E10 Plus now, based on how the rating system has changed. So it's definitely not T, you know, with all the stuff. So it's just mild. I think it's just kind of a bummer that some of that stuff is in there, but anyway, you can kind of just. You can avoid it in this game. In the second game, it's a little bit harder, and I'll explain that too when we get there. So, because I'd like to do Mega Man Legends 2 as well and do a walkthrough of that. So, we'll get to that later. But anyway, so just be aware that that stuff is in here. It's the long version of that. Neat, a stag beetle. Yes, I would love some broken circuits. So I think now we can exit, come back in, and give them the other one. Old heater. Yes. More parts for Roll to do stuff with. And then finally the comic book. The X-Buster for Mega Man. Ha ha ha. Thank you, Capcom. So at this point, there's not really anything else for you to find, I don't believe. So after you get the X-Buster, that's it. Or Cross-Buster, I don't know whatever it's called, but I'd call it the X-Buster just because Mega Man X and all that stuff was going on around the same time. So I think X4 was out about this time. So this game came out in '97, I think. So it's wow, it's really old now at this point. Like over 20 years old now. That's crazy. That's crazy that this game is over 20 years old now. Let's see here. Trying to think of where we need to be for the next video. I guess we need to go investigate the main gate next. So I guess let's do... Well, actually, let's do this. Let's go to the shop in the marketplace because we're going to need to get a couple things before we go into the main gate anyway. Then we'll call roll, go to the main gate, do all the item development, do all the weapon changing, everything, and then we'll call it for this video. Whoops. I am on the wrong side. Okay, so it's time to buy the Kevlar jacket. This is the last piece of equipment, I guess, for armor. So, and then we've got the really, really expensive stuff here at the top. So, we'll wait until we get near the end of the main gate before we max out our buster and everything, just because there's a couple of buster parts you get in there anyway, so it doesn't make sense to spend all of your money there. But getting the Kevlar jacket is good, and there's another one after that that reduces your damage by 3/4, but it doesn't show up until later. So. So we will call roll. Okay, so let's do the support car, the main gate. Okay, then we'll talk to roll. Okay. See what we can develop, if there's anything. Okay. Mystic Orb and Marl Wolf Shell, Shield Arm. The Gatling Gun Buster part. Okay, so let's exit and check on our buster parts. I also need to change special weapons. I just forgot about that. Yeah, so the Gatling gun increases your energy like crazy. Gives you a bunch of attack, some range. So we're going to exchange that. And then the sniper scope for the range booster for the sniper scope. So I'm trying to decide if it makes sense to have some rapid or not. Yeah, so anyway, you can kind of start fiddling around with different equipment types to get everything maxed out the way you want it. I think we'll go ahead and stick for that for right now. So we're going to change back to the vacuum arm, because we're going to need it for what's coming up here. We're going to talk to data, save, and we'll call it for this video. So, well, thanks for watching this video, everybody. Still hope you're enjoying this series on Mega Man Legends, and we will catch you again here real soon. So have a great day, guys. See you later.